Supergirl Season 2, Episode 10, We Can Be Heroes. I actually thought this was a pretty good episode. Mostly, I personally speaking at least, the best thing about it was how things changed between the characters once, certain things came to light. We have the reveal to, at least Kara, since pretty much everybody else knew, but we have the reveal to Kara that Jimmy is actually Guardian and that Winn has been helping him out this whole time. And as this episode goes through, the whole thing is pretty much Kara's at the top. She is the superhero of the show. And she's kind of doing it all on her own. And that's pretty much how she feels. And they have this segment when she's at Catco. And Jimmy's talking to her and he's like, you're not the only superhero out there. And he thinks it's going well. It's like, okay, she's kind of accepting things about, vigilantes and stuff like that. And then she's like, you're right, I have Mon-El. And then it kind of switches up and he has his issues with Mon-El not being ready. And of course, there's just a ton of random issues with Mon-El being a hero and not really doing it for the right reasons, because they even confront this at the end, which I was surprised by. Kara just flat out asks him, like, are you doing this because you like me? And he doesn't give a legitimate answer in that scene, at least. But I thought that was actually kind of cool. And they go through all these processes of basically 4 different people, Jimmy and Winn separately. You have 4 different people who are all in kind of the superhero game. And so Kara's at the top. And she's almost kind of doling out her life lessons a little bit in this episode. And I just thought that was very interesting that, of course she is like the main superhero, but I don't know if I was on her side the whole time during this episode, because she was kind of telling people whether they were right or wrong, because she, is superhuman. And of course, Jimmy isn't, neither is Winn. And that's why she didn't want Jimmy to be, a hero with her, because it's like, you're human. You get hit once and that's pretty much it. Like, there are no trials, there's no second chance. Like, you would die and that's all there is to it. And simply because of that, it was kind of just like, you can't be a hero because you're human. And I just thought that was a little unfair. Maybe it's because I was thinking of like all of the DC universe, all these characters that we have. But just within this show, it's limited. And I just thought that was so interesting that she was kind of, just against it the entire time. And she was still against it at the end. And I kind of like that, because I wasn't expecting it. Because of course we have Jimmy and Winn, they decide to go after Livewire, or this doctor who's kidnapped her. And Mon-El ends up hearing Winn on the phone and stuff, so he ends up going with them. And of course, I thought they were going to do it, because I'm like, he's got super strength, and Jimmy has like all this technology that Winn's made for him, and he's a good fighter in his own right. I thought it was going to be fine, because they beat up the 2 people like it was nothing, and then I guess the scientist was just way more powerful for some reason, maybe because it wasn't blue lightning, I don't know. But there wasn't even a fight. It was like he shot lightning at him, it went to commercial, and then it came back and they were both captured, and I was like, oh. I mean, they beat up 2 other people, but they, for whatever reason, couldn't take him out. So they end up getting captured, and Kara has to come in to save them, because when it's like, hey, I may have lied about, not knowing where Livewire is. So she comes in and saves them, and they all team up, and they beat up, the other characters. She actually is able to convince Livewire not to kill the scientist, so she, she lets her go free for a little bit. And even after all of that, they have the conversation at the end, her and Jimmy, and it's like, hey, we want to do this. Like, we've worked together now. Like, you can have us as backup. And it was the same thing as it had been through the entire episode, where she's like, no, like, that's just not going to cut it for me. Like, you guys are not superhuman. You're just normal humans, and that's it. And, excuse me, I was really surprised by that. And I would assume Mon-El is going to still work with her, but I don't know how they're going to treat that, because, he still wants to work with her, but he does admit, in the end of the episode that he has feelings for her. And we just kind of have to see where that goes. But it was just interesting when she told Jimmy and Winn, like, she still doesn't think it's a good idea in any way, shape, or form, even though they teamed up at the end. Like, if they all had gone in there, none of them would have been captured, of course, because you'd have 2 characters with super strength, and then you'd have Jimmy as well with, his shield, which, like, he reflected the lightning back at both the characters, which I thought was a really cool thing. Neither Mon-El nor Kara could have done that, but it's just, different things that he could do that they couldn't. And then, of course, there are a million things that they can do that he can't, because they have all sorts of superpowers. And it was just interesting to me, like I said, the way they went about it, and Carl really stuck to her guns. There was no switching things around. Maybe if they did actually take out the scientist as well, and they actually saved Livewire, maybe it would have been different, but ultimately they went through and they did end up both getting captured. And it was both of them. It wasn't just Jimmy. Both of them were in there and they both ended up getting captured just, dealing with the scientist. So she, in a way, she definitely has it right, but she wasn't even willing to work with them. And like, she's training Mon-El, but she didn't, consider the idea that she could train with Jimmy, or they could just, make plans as a trio. They could have plans like, this is how we can go into a battle based on who we're going up against, whether it's a human villain or a superhuman villain. And it was just like, nope, like, no, that's it. So it seems like, also the way they did it was like, all right, well, I guess that's it. And it seemed like they're still going to do the Guardian thing, and everybody's just going to be mad at each other. So I don't know where we're headed with that, but I thought that was really good in this episode. It was definitely the main focus, but I'm excited to see where that goes, because it seems like it's just, it's something that they both want to do. They all want to be heroes, and Mon-El may be the least, out of all four of them, but Kara just wouldn't accept it, and I just thought, I like that. It'll be cool to see where they take that, because it really will stress them out. At some point, it has to strain their relationships, where it's like, yeah, he's still doing the Guardian thing, and we know you don't approve, but you could totally just team up with us, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal, and she won't want to do that, even though he's out there anyway. So it'll be this odd sort of paradox thing where it's like, I don't want to team up, but her not teaming up with them isn't going to stop them from going out and doing the vigilante thing. So I'm excited to see where that goes. The other big story in this episode was definitely with J'onn and M'gann, and I really love that. And they actually do the mind meld in this episode, which is really good. And J'onn decides to forgive M'gann. Like, she's suffering and stuff through this whole episode, and he decides to forgive her. And I just like the way they did it. Like, him, I can't think of the actual actor's name, but every time they give him like an emotional segment where he's legitimately mad, because he's always kind of just stoic, but in this I loved it. Like the first sequence when he's like, she can die for all I care and stuff like that, like she deserves it like 1,000 times over and stuff like that, and he was so upset. I was like, I love this, because we don't get to see that from J'onn very often. Like, he's just, like I said, stoic, and that's pretty much it. But in this, he had a great segment in the beginning, and as the episode goes on, he decides like it's the right thing to do to at least attempt to save her, and that's what he does. And then we get the reveal at the end of the episode that because of what M'gann was going through, the other white Martians that are still alive are actually going to be coming to Earth. And it seemed like there was only one based on the promo, but that's kind of all it takes considering how powerful they are. So I'm very excited for the next episode. It seems like it's going to be kind of like a horror episode. They're all trapped inside the base, and I'm excited to see how that plays out. It seemed very chaotic. They had the scene where Winn was just like shooting fire in front of everybody. I guess he just didn't, they don't know who is who because Martians can, of course, shapeshift. So I'm excited to see how they play this next episode out, if it's going to be, really creepy and how far they really go with that. But I'm excited for it, and I can't wait to see M'gann and J'onn team up, because that kind of has to happen, or at least M'gann just takes out the other white Martian. So either way, we're going to see some cool Martian action in this next episode, which I'm excited for. I know I recently saw like an article where they said they were going to be doing like the Martian Chronicles. I think it's only going to be one episode, I don't know, but it's like a big Martian focused episode, so I'm very excited for that. I don't know if that's going to be the very next episode or what, but either way I'm excited for it. So I think this was a good episode. They brought in Livewire. They had a very interesting twist with her escaping, and it was actually that she was kidnapped by this scientist who may have had a name. He may be an actual character from the universe, but I don't remember them even saying the character's name. I think he was just there, and he was making like basically superpower clones a little bit, and I thought that was really cool. I was like, all right, I love the idea of that, where he uses these two people, or he uses Livewire to give these two people superpowers, and that was just interesting. And then, like I said, for whatever reason, his lightning was different. It was like yellow lightning instead of blue, and I felt like that was one thing that they didn't do too well. Like, he had his own sort of powers, and they didn't really utilize him too much. Like I said, they didn't show a fight scene of him actually beating up Jimmy and Monel. It was just he shot lightning, it went to commercial, and he beat them. And then once Livewire escaped, he couldn't beat her. Like, she destroyed him in like 2.5 seconds. Like, he shot some lightning, and basically she just countered his with her own lightning, and then that was it, and he lost. And I was like, for someone who was able to beat both of them, he wasn't super skilled. I mean, there was no back and forth or anything like that, and he seemed, because he caught both Monel and Jimmy, he seemed way more powerful than two individual people with Livewire's powers, and they couldn't beat him by himself. But when he actually went up against Livewire, it wasn't any sort of thing. It was just like, yeah, he's still way weaker than her, and she beat him in 2 seconds. And it was like it was a weird balance. Like, the two people were weaker than this one guy who was able, like, in between that, it was Jimmy and Monel. So they could beat the two people, and then he could beat them, but he couldn't beat Livewire. And it wasn't even a contest. Like, she just destroyed him in 2 seconds, and she was about to kill him. I was like, huh, that wasn't as intense as I thought it was going to be. It was mostly them still beating up the other two people who came back. And the scientists, they kind of dealt with Livewire. He, like, hit Kara a little bit, and there wasn't much to him as far as him being more powerful than the other two people. And I thought that was kind of weird, because they made it seem like he was so much more powerful. And then he really wasn't. He was just like a little bit stronger than them, which meant he was a little bit stronger than Monel and Jimmy. And then he was still nothing when it came down to the end fight. He still lost in 2 seconds. So that was something I kind of wish we got to see a little bit more of, was him actually being a tough villain. But I still thought it was fine. I thought it was a cool little twist where she was being used for her powers and stuff. And we'll see what happens when she comes back. Kara was like losing her mind, because that's like her nemesis. And, she was wrong about her as far as being kidnapped and stuff like that. But of course, as soon as she breaks her out, the first thing Livewire does is super villainy, where it's like, alright, I'm just going to kill you now. And it was nothing like, I'm going to escape, or I'm going to... Like, her first thing wasn't even to get revenge on the scientists. Her first thought was, oh, look at you, you're kind of weak right now. And she was going to kill Kara right there. And that was it. And I was like, man, villains sometimes are just so... tunnel vision is insane sometimes. But I enjoyed this episode. I am curious if they're going to bring that scientist guy back. I'm sure they will. Everybody who gets captured in any superhero show always comes back. Unless they die, they come back, in a later episode. So I'm actually excited to see him, and maybe they'll do something where he takes Supergirl's powers or something like that. But I enjoyed this episode. Would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please put your comments down in the comment section below. I want to know your favorite parts, least favorite parts about this episode. And as far as next week's episode, what are you guys expecting to see from the Martians? I mean, we got White Martians coming in. Maybe we'll get more backstory from John before everything was chaotic. Maybe we'll get some stuff from M'gann, because, of course, all we know from her is... We actually get a bit more information in this, where we find out, like, what truly made her turn, and it was that young Green Martian. And she was like, I just couldn't do it, and that was her turning point. But maybe we'll get to see a lot of these characters from even before, like, these crazy massacres and everything. So that's what I'm guessing we'll see, because there's just not a ton of backstory on either of those characters yet. And this is the perfect opportunity. We have White Martian talking to M'gann, like, this is what we used to do before all the massacres, and then this is what you did before you decided to turn against us. So that's what I think we're going to get, but I would love to know what you guys think we're going to see, and what you want to see from the Martians. I mean, there's a lot there. There's some great characters, so I would love to know what elements from the comic books and the history of these two characters you guys would like to see, and what you just think we'll see in general. And like I said, I of course want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.